What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. And today I got a screener for a documentary. This is Janis Ian, Breaking Silence. I had no idea who Janis Ian was other than a character on Mean Girls. So she's an actual artist who I absolutely should know what she is. And this is like last year I watched the documentary about Ali Willis, and it kind of blew my mind, and I was like, I don't know why I don't know who you are, and I'm so glad I got this documentary. I felt that way while watching this. I don't care. I'm honest. I did not know who Janis Ian was going into this. Um, does not make me any less interested or in her life. Um, and I I enjoyed the whole thing, like all the way through her story, the way that she got started, the way that she was drawn to music and started playing at a young age. She just sort of heard songs on the piano, and her father was like, well, you need to learn the alphabet and how and math and how to count before I can teach you how to do the piano. So she had to learn her alphabet and how to count, and started learning how to play the piano. So that way she could become this sort of like prodigy songwriter at a young age. She started writing things, and at 13 became sort of a published songwriter, and sort of went on from there, and had this sort of culture shock hit with Society's Child, which was definitely a song for its time, dropping in the middle of the civil rights movement, being a song largely about interracial relationships. And she found herself sort of in the middle of this firestorm of hate, and she gets to talk about that quite a bit. Her evolution as a folk artist, and the artists that she's worked with, and bouncing around from labels, and managers and partners. Also, as a bisexual woman who has had relationships with both men and women, that we basically go through Janis's whole life. So we go through all of the partners that she's had along the way, up until sort of present day. She's been nominated for Grammy a couple times, won twice, and somehow I didn't know who she was. And worked with a lot of great people, had a lot of excellent experiences that you'll learn about if you watch the documentary, which you absolutely should, because I loved this. It does not have audio description, which it's kind of frustrating from just like, I'm a blind person and this is my accessibility and this is what I need standpoint, but it's very much a talking head interview documentary. And when she's not talking, she's usually singing. It usually cuts to footage of her singing a song, and we're not gonna realistically have a lot of like verbose audio description on this movie. Should it get it, it's gonna have, what is often really helpful is the little interjections of who's speaking. That's what we'll get here, most of it. But like most of the time, Janis is speaking. Like, it's a lot of self-reflectiveness. She's still alive, and it's her getting to tell her story. So it is pretty obvious who a lot of this, who's doing a lot of the talking, and as a result, this is one of those rare occurrences where I feel like I can grade this because I loved it. And audio description, all it's going to do for me realistically is be able to tell me who's speaking. It might occasionally find a couple minutes to tell me where some footage is from, or a photo. I mean, like, there might be a couple extra seconds to give me a little bit of clarity or context on a visual aspect of the movie, but there isn't really that much unless you start talking on top of people or through songs. Because part of the thing is I kind of fell in love with her as a musician while watching this. So, I mean, this movie worked on twofold. It became an excellent documentary that I fell in love with, while also being an introduction to an artist that I feel like every song that they played of hers, I was like, I would listen to that. I would listen to that. I would listen. I was like, how do I not know who this person is? How have I never, I feel like I had heard at 17, and that was it. Like, that was the only song that I felt like where I was like, oh, this song is familiar. I've heard this before. And then I don't think I actually heard any of her other songs. Even the one, Stars, which has been covered by multiple other artists, I felt like I hadn't even heard their covers of Stars. So I don't know, I mean, she does predate me. That's another thing, is I'm younger, so I do have to make a concerted effort, both in film and in television, but in also music, to go back through and listen to a lot of music from back in the day. But when you do that, oftentimes when you listen to older radio stations, they play you the hits. So you would get something like At 17, but you wouldn't necessarily get some of her deeper cuts. And she seems sort of very well respected as an artist, but it does seem like her major hits, if you're going through a channel that's representing a decade, wouldn't have her on constant repeat for me to be like, oh yeah, Janis. So I probably have heard At 17 while listening to like a 70s station, but I don't know that, she had a ton of hits in the 70s that would have been represented. And since I didn't live through the 70s, or the 60s for Society's Child, I have missed out on the opportunity to get some of her big music. Even the 80s, I was a little kid. I wasn't controlling what I was listening to during the 80s. I didn't start picking my own music until the 90s. Like, I was still a little kid and your parents controlled the radio. Like, you're little, you don't make music choices. you know. So yeah, this was a very interesting story, and I love how she sort of weaves her musical journey, her personal journey, the journeys of all of the people around her that she's had the opportunity to be a part of, from civil rights movements to she's written songs about she wrote a song about bathhouses, living through sort of the HIV/AIDS epidemic, and seeing that community being affected and decimated. She was able to write and reflect to that. She seems like she just writes and reflects to a lot of things. She battled addiction early on and beat it because she was afraid it was going to affect her opportunity to write, and it was all she really wanted to do was just write songs. So I'm on board. Like, I went from not knowing who Janis was to, is Janis in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Can we get her there? Like, I'm now a fan, and I'm listening to Janis now. So it did what the documentary was supposed to do. So I don't know how many views this is going to get, because I don't know how many people know that this documentary is coming out. But if nothing else, what I'll tell you is Janis gained another fan. It's like I did last year with The World According to Allie Willis. Allie Willis gained another fan. I did not know she had worked on all the things she had worked on. And I was like, oh my God, how do I not know who you are? I love those documentaries. I often say we're in this time period where it feels like documentary is content creation for a lot of streamers. And we're getting a lot of documentaries that I don't think mean much, and we're just getting them, and they're just being put out into the world. And I can kind of tell when a documentary is just sort of like, well, it's a documentary about a famous person. Isn't that good enough for you? I mean, I guess, but why? Well, this one is like, I don't know that there would be another. It's like, thank you for picking somebody who feels like they're a little bit off the beaten path in terms of who you would immediately choose to tell the story of, because she's still alive, so she's not, it's not like she just died and you're making a documentary about her. This isn't Sydney. So, um, or all those, God, the Gene Hackman things that they're coming out with nowadays. Anyway, I did. I thought this was excellent. So, and I will remember this for the rest of the year. I don't know where it's gonna end up on my like year-end documentary lists. I do tend to lean more towards activist documentaries when I'm picking at the end of the day. Not that this wouldn't end. I mean, I really liked music by John Williams, and it was in my top 10. It just wasn't number one because somewhere along the way, somebody's going to remind me that the world is on fire and show me some footage from somewhere in the world, something that is going to rock me and shake me to the core. I know that's going to happen at some point this year. But for right now, if you get Janis and it comes to your city, it's supposed to hit VOD at the end of April. I would absolutely recommend this. So I'm giving it an A. So yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I will see you guys on the other side.